Hey there, and welcome to the Bold Badass Business Show, where we bring you badasses from all over the globe who are going to change your business for the better. And you all, I am thrilled today to have in the house Christine Kloser, who I had the joy of meeting on the Podcasters Cruise. Yay! Podcasters Cruise. And Christine has been gathering goddesses for years, over 20 years. She is a New York Times and USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and she's a publisher. She's been doing the work she's been doing for so long, and I am thrilled to have you here in the house, Christine. Welcome.
Well, thanks. I'm excited too. I'm excited to see what happens in our conversation today.
Yeah, let's see what kind of magic we can create, because our world needs magic. What do you think?
Absolutely. Miracles, magic, divine guidance, all of it.
Yes, and intuition. Like we need to really get in touch with our intuition, which I know you've been helping people do for years and years. We have more telomeres in our gut, in our hearts, than we do in our actual brain. So here we are. Well, I want to ask you, Christine, I was fascinated by the title, Why Every Business Owner. So it sounds like you're including men too, right?
My specialty is working with women. That's where I started in the mid 80s, literally, when I started leading my majorette squad in high school. But for men who kind of relate to a more maybe feminine approach, a more balanced approach, it can absolutely relate to them too.
Yeah, and those men who don't relate to that, well, maybe this will be the opening for you guys, all right? Let's open you up because we all have that male and female energy, we do. It's just where do we put our focus? So Christine, when did you know, I just want to ask this because I'm sure people are wondering, when did you know that you were meant to be the goddess gatherer?
Well, it's interesting. That name, that like moniker, didn't come to me until very recently.
Hmm.
But in reality, I mean, literally back when I was 18, 17 years old in college,
Hmm.
I was leading groups of women in aerobics in our all women's dorm hallway, right? Because I would go take aerobics. I had, been in the fitness industry for a very long time before I got into publishing and all of that. But so there I was leading, like I still have a picture, all these women down the hallway, the boombox back in the 80s. And, like that's sort of where it started. But then when I graduated college, literally over a pitcher of Miller Lite beer, I found myself gathering two girlfriends to get in a car and drive 3,000 miles away from our private little conservative Catholic college in Providence, Rhode Island, to San Diego to go live because we could not stay in the box of, banking and insurance and, BS. No disrespect to anyone who works in banking and insurance and loves it. It was not for me. So I gathered a couple of goddesses. We hopped in a car and we moved 3,000 miles away. Flash forward, I found myself in 97, just like sort of spontaneously hosting a women's retreat in Lake Arrowhead, California called the Vision Weekend. And, we had a couple hundred women go through the Vision Weekend. This was before I even heard of the word coach or anything like that.
Mm.
So it's been and then, 2000, I founded the Network for Empowering Women Entrepreneurs. I've been gathering women in my living room and, Costa Rica for retreats. And we're like, it's been my nature. It's been who I am since, way back when.
I love that. I've just got that image of you teaching them all aerobics, like star in the hallway, in your dorm. I love that. And isn't it interesting, that we can really find in the earlier versions of ourselves, especially those, from young times, we can find our purpose and we can find our mission. I was always the fortune teller at the Halloween carnival. Little did they know, right? I'm kind of the fortune teller with business in many ways with my clients. So I love that you can trace this back, and I love that you inspired those women to go with you across the country and start a whole new life.
Yeah, with no jobs, no place
Yeah.
to live. We didn't know anyone in San Diego. We literally threw a suitcase in the trunk of my friend's, brand new red little Volkswagen Fox, and off we went on this great adventure. And,
Wow.
I think that was my soul just telling me, you know, no, you're not here to, push papers, if you will, or, you're here for something different than what you knew from your family. Because no one in my family was a business owner, get a job and get benefits. And that's what matters. And I just kind of, stepped away
You
from all of that.
you were the different one. You were the different one. Notice I did not say the black sheep, because you were the creative. You were the cutting edge cultural creative who said, to hell with the box. I'm
Yeah.
going to San Diego. I was going to ask you, why San Diego? Why San Diego, Christine?
I don't know. I had never been there before. But it was kind of as far away as I could get without leaving the country, in a
Mm,
car. Um, unless we wanted to cross through Canada to get to Alaska, but I'd much prefer the beach and sand and warm weather than Alaska. So just, call it intuition, I guess.
beautiful.
Because that's just where we're going.
And I want to ask you this, because I know you teach people to get in touch with their intuition. For the people listening, some don't have a business yet. Some do have a business, and their business is shifting and changing. I feel my business shifting and changing. I've been
Mhm.
in business 24 years, and there have been evolutions. I loved what you said, by the way, about, you gave yourself finally the moniker, the goddess gatherer, was like revealed. I feel the same. I've been the badass business coach for over 20 years, but the name just came in like the last year.
Yeah.
You know?
Takes a while to grow into who we already are and see it for ourselves like other people do.
And see it for ourselves. Yes.
Yeah.
And so the question I want to ask you, I just get chills on that. The question I want to ask you is, how can the people listening hear their intuition better? What are the ways that we can tune into it? And I know you're very practical like me. So what are some practical ways you can do that?
Well, first and foremost, you've got to be willing to not just do something, but sit there, right? You've got to be willing to get quiet, to not run around. I mean, and this is spoken from someone who has, run around and done a lot and go, go, go and Energizer Bunny, for a long time in my business. Um, but if you don't stop to pause, get quiet, reflect, journal, go for a walk amongst your favorite trees or beach or whatever it is for you, and just like, don't plug anything into your ears as you're walking or sitting. Just sit in the silence. Just begin by just noticing your breath, just breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Just focus on that and practice being still. And then once you allow yourself to actually become still, then whatever the question is or the insight that you need, be willing to ask for it to be revealed. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm going to sit, I'm going to get quiet. And then I'm just going to like go back in my head and try to see how I can figure out a solution for this thing that I'm working on or get the clarity. Like, it's work. And intuition isn't work. It takes effort to sit, right? It takes effort to get quiet, it takes effort to be still and just tune into yourself. But then it's not a matter of like trying to figure it out. Then it's a matter of surrendering and letting go and asking and allowing yourself to be open to receive the message, the download, the insight, the nudge, it's funny. I don't know that I'm supposed to, well, whatever. I do this. But like my altar and my meditation table in my other room is like sit down low on the floor. I have my little meditation cushion there, but I also have a notepad and a pen. because as I'm sitting, like, I mean, every morning I could write an entire page of just ideas and insights that just, land out of nowhere. And then, of course, I have to discern what I'm going to act on, what feels aligned, what I'm not, what's for now, what's for later, what's for never. So if you're, sitting and getting still to connect with your intuition and allowing it to come in, also make sure you've got some pen and paper to document. Would not suggest a phone,
Mhm.
because the phone can take you down a whole other rabbit hole.
Exactly. Plus, it's got that electromagnetic field. And,
Yeah.
just put yourself in a place where you're a bit away from TVs and all the electronics, because those can indeed interfere um, with, with our fields, basically, our energetic
Yeah.
field. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think something that I hear you saying too is have a set place to go that is your place where you get quiet and have everything you need there so that when you sit down, you just immediately begin to go into that place, that space of intuition. And, have it doesn't have to be an altar, but have a special chair, for example, where you go and sit, or have a special place where you lie down and do self hypnosis, or, have a place and a time, because then it gets done, right? Because the
Absolutely.
whole world is about Energizer Bunny. I would like to, if there's going to be a mass shooting, could we shoot the Energizer Bunny, y'all? Seriously, really, let's do that. I mean, I've been that too, Christine, and people are always like, you're so high energy. You're so high energy. Well, one of the reasons I'm high energy is because I spend every day in the morning doing Reiki and self hypnosis every morning, you know, without fail. And that's why I have high energy. I can't take credit for it. It's about that practice. So I hear you saying have a place, have a space, and have it be regular. Is that right?
Yeah. And if you're not a sitter, right, if you're a walker,
Yes.
then no, okay, I'm going to go on this walk and I'm not bringing my headphones. Maybe I will tuck pen and paper in my pocket just in case the ideas start coming. But go on that walk intentionally for the purpose of just quieting your mind, becoming present in the moment. Because the intuition doesn't come to you when you're in the past or in the future, right? When you're focused on what happened or you're focused on what may or may not happen, it's very difficult for what's present right now to actually land. So if you're a walker and you're not a sitter, like fine, but walk intentionally,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes I live in Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half from one of the most beautiful gardens in the country called Longwood Gardens. It is amazing.
Mm.
And sometimes when I just need to connect, I hop in the car, I drive that hour and a half. I don't listen to anything. I'm using the drive to kind of just quiet and then walk around the gardens and probably listen to something on the way home. But, you've got to find your way that you can get quiet. For some people, it's running. They need to go run and move their bodies in order to help their mind get still. So find what works for you. For
I love
me,
that.
I sit every morning
And
quietly.
people, we all have different learning styles. Some of us are kinesthetic. I'm extremely kinesthetic. And so yes, I actually used to learn things by jumping on a mini tramp, a rebounder. Like that's how I would learn talks I was going to give, because I was so kinesthetic. But for those who are, just remember that your walking is a form of meditation. Anything can be a form of meditation. You can wash the dishes meditatively. You can dust meditatively. So choose the thing that speaks to your soul. And I think this is so important, actually, Christine, because we so often put everything else first. Everything else, like people will go and just start checking email instead of having a little morning spiritual routine.
Hmm.
I'm just the opposite. I'm like, I don't want to look at my email. I hardly ever do. I
My,
don't.
I mean, my morning routine these days, it's about 3 hours.
That's beautiful.
Literally, it's like from 5:30 to 8:30, 6 to 9, and then I'm at my desk by, 9:30 and into stuff by 10. And,
Beautiful.
it didn't always be that way, but that's just what's evolving now. That involves some exercise and meditation and time on my biomat and,
Hydration.
listening to maybe Joe Dispenza one morning or whatever it
Mhm.
is, journaling. I journal every single day. I read from a couple of daily readers every day that really just,
Beautiful.
fill my soul. So, but that's how you can then go and do and create and be who you're here to be in your business, for yourself, in your relationships, in your life, in the world.
And it's how you create flow in your life, which, to take it back to our topic, modern day goddesses, how to be like them, how to lead and live like them. I'm assuming that being in that flow and having that connection to source, whatever you want to call it, energy, Allah, God, Buddha, whatever you call it. I like the word source with a capital S, higher power. Some people say HP, higher power, but to have that connection is just essential. And I think the goddesses do that, right?
Well, for me, really, it's a two-way connection, right? Because yes, you have to be connected to that something greater than yourself. Otherwise, how do we make sense of this like wild world that we're living in right now? We don't. We have to believe in something, at least I do, believe in something greater, that there is some divine order. There is something out there that is orchestrating this. And this too, these times, these challenges we face individually, collectively, globally, cosmically, they are for our growth and evolution, right? Because we live in a world that if it's just constantly growing and expanding, we're a part of that. So it is essential to be connected to that and know that energy outside of yourself. But it's equally as important to make sure that you are also deeply connected with that divine spark that sits inside of you,
Mm-hmm.
like the depth and the truth and the beingness of who you are at a soul level. If it's all focused out there, source and all of that, it's like your feet aren't on the ground sometimes. You're not really in your body. You don't have the self-awareness that you need about your human patterns and behaviors and ways of being that aren't really serving you. So you've got to connect out, but use that connection to more deeply connect in.
Mm-hmm.
Because only when those two things are working in harmony are you going to be able to really take flight and soar and live in that flow. It's got to be both. And sometimes going in, I mean, that's hard work. That can be really, tough stuff to look at.
Yes.
But the stuff that frees you to be your full expression in the world. So it's a two-way connection.
I love that. And generally, I would say, we're so focused out in this society, at least, we're very externally motivated, externally orientated. And so to take that back and say, you know what, I give myself Reiki and self-hypnosis every morning of at least an hour, at least. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 like you, just in that time. And I give myself time for this and that and the other, to paint or whatever the things are that you want to have, those of you listening, in your morning routine. That is countercultural, and that's going to be incredible for your business. We've got to keep ourselves happy, Christine. I've been very aware of that recently because I found, and we just speak it all here. This show is about, like, let's talk about those things that haven't worked as well as those things we're celebrating. But I found recently, I'm like, everything's feeling very efforty, like I'm efforting. And I realized, it's time, Barnsley, you got to have some fun. You just got to have some fun, Barnsley, because you're super fun and you're not having fun. And I've been focusing more on that. And also focusing on days when I don't do a lick of work, no work whatsoever in my business.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't feel like work ever, I don't do those things. I'm just like, yeah, this day is my day. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna paint. I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna go have lunch with a friend. So important to shore up our inner resources and our happiness, our well of happiness, so that then we can give.
I couldn't agree more. Like
Yeah.
one of the things that I do, I love that you talked about fun. One of the things that I love to do for fun is I'm a dancer.
Yes.
I facilitate groove dance, like not as a career. I just do it at my events and at
For
other
fun.
people's events because it's an amazing experience of bringing people together and just moving freely, joyfully. But I also do like country western two-step and West Coast swing and East Coast swing and, cha-cha and waltz and line dances and all the things. And it's like, no matter what is going on, and can I tell you this? My husband just started taking West Coast swing lessons. And
Ooh.
like, honest to goodness, we are now dancing like in our kitchen, because that's where we have the hardwood floors, a couple times a week, and just practicing his moves. And it's just this, it's so simple. Just put on a fun song. Lately, we've been dancing to Usher's song, Yeah, which is like just a great West Coast swing song. But it's like, maybe we had a hard day, or maybe something didn't go as planned, or maybe we just didn't even get to connect all day because he was busy and I was busy and blah, blah, blah. And then we just toss on a song and push aside the chair to our dining room table and just dance. That for me, no matter what's going on, lifts my spirit, gives me that extra kind of like, I can do anything, I can do anything, because I'm just dancing in my living room right now with my husband, which is kind of a miracle. We've been married 23 years. I've been dancing my whole life. And he, after 23 years, just started taking dance lessons.
I love that. See,
But
we
yeah,
never give up hope. Just keep doing your thing. Just keep doing your thing, because eventually, that person is going to say, oh, that looks fun.
Yeah, but if you're not sourcing yourself with things that bring you joy and pleasure, right? In the summer, for us, it's gardening. We have a beautiful vegetable garden. We have a lovely dahlia garden. My publishing company is named after a dahlia flower, because through helping people write and publish books, we help them bloom. But I have 3 dahlia gardens on our property. And I'm like out on my paddleboard, every other day when it's warm enough to get out there. That sources me, and that allows me to do what we talked about earlier: get quiet, connect with intuition, be still, be fueled, and be connected to myself, and allow the creativity, the ideas, the juiciness. And half the time the intuition is saying don't do that, right? Because we have to listen to that side of intuition too.
Ooh,
not just where we're going.
Good. So often it's just like that little feeling in the gut of, ooh, this doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't feel right. And really listening to that, this person doesn't feel like the person I want to work with, or this situation doesn't feel good to me. Really being willing to be honest, which is very hard sometimes.
Well, saying no, I'll speak from my own experience, having just gone through a whole year of saying no. Saying no for me was far harder than saying yes. So easy to say yes. Oh, sure. Yeah. This idea. Yes. This idea. Yes. Oh, you want me to do that? Yes. Okay. Yes. 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 Until it just got clear that was definitely not working. Right. Any other people pleasers in the crowd? Any, it's like, I want to take care of everyone else. And then one day last year, I've lived with chronic pain. I lived, it is past tense now because of last year. But I lived with chronic pain for 19 years.
Wow.
Like debilitating. And one day last year, when I was in a peak of a state of like, I cannot live with this anymore, my husband had the wisdom to ask me, and I just let my intuition answer the question. He said, what does your body want?
Whoa. Okay. Wait, oh, hello. All right, everybody. I want you to just stop whatever you're doing and get a piece of paper, write that down, because that is a true gem. That's genius, Christine. What does your body want? Because our bodies don't lie.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about the goddess, which is our topic too, we are going to be very clear about that in a little bit, you all, but the goddess holds that sacred energy that is hers, right? And the goddess is like planted in the body, in the human world with the divine. It's like the meeting of the divine and the human. And our bodies are undeniable signs. They tell us what's going on, whatever the ache is, whatever the pain is, whatever's going on, that our bodies are there to serve us. But they're going to get louder and louder till we listen, aren't they?
Well, 19 years of living with it, trying everything under the sun.
What was it, Christine? May I ask? Was it Was it arthritis? Was it fibromyalgia? What was
No,
it in terms
no,
of
there
just
was no
back pain?
official diagnosis.
Mhm.
There was nothing wrong. My x-rays looked fine. But I actually self-diagnosed by reading a book by a gentleman named Dr. John Sarno. It's called Healing Back Pain.
Mhm.
And in that book, he talks about a diagnosis that he created for these mind-body issues where there's no physical reason for the pain, but yet there's someone is having a real experience of pain, but there's nothing wrong in the body. And it's called tension myositis syndrome. And I read that book. I read about that diagnosis, and every cell of my being was like, that is it. And, it took some time for me to really understand that I had the power to free myself from this pain. But yeah, about 14 months probably after first reading that book, I just was free of debilitating chronic pain that
So
I
it kinda happened, you read the book, you did work, but one day it just was, "Oh, it's not there now."
it was a process, right? It
Mhm.
was a process. I read the book, the seeds were planted, I understood. I worked with a coach for a little bit, kind of fun. She just reached out to talk to me about publishing her book because she's writing her own book on this
Yeah.
topic. And it was just, I just kind of followed the little cookie trail. Like ET with the Reese's Pieces going back to the spaceship. And something would pop up. I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to explore that. But it wasn't like what I had done for 19 years prior, which
Mm.
was I'm going to go for acupuncture and craniosacral and myofascial. And, I'm going to eat mushrooms and drink ayahuasca. And I'm going to, do hypnotherapy. And I'm going to go to traditional physical therapy and get injections and all that stuff. The journey that book put me on was just a journey inside of myself.
I love that. Tell us the name of the book again. I wanna write it down.
Yeah, Healing Back Pain, Dr. John Sarno. You can also he's got a lot of stuff on YouTube as well.
John Sarno, Sarno.
Yeah, yeah.
Love that because, I mean, even if you don't really have back pain, like I have some knee stuff. I mean, they've always told me I had osteoarthritis, but I never listened, right? Until the dogs pulled me down a few years ago. And then it was like,
Uh,
oh, my knee's talking to me. But, whatever's going on with us, those of you listening, this can give you some ways of working with that pain, even if it's not back pain, it sounds like, right?
yeah.
You can
Yeah,
apply
I mean,
it.
it definitely could happen in other ways. Because me, I'm like, oh, well, it's sort of like my shoulder and my neck. It's not really my back, but I mean, your neck is part of your spine.
It's kinda stuck on
Come
top
on,
of that back.
right?
Yeah, and
So,
usually what is it? It's like this thing above our neck, this head that is,
yeah,
where we've got
yeah.
all sorts of stuff going on in there that just needs to be, no matter how positive we are, right? That needs to be addressed, and it's a cumulative thing, so
Mhm.
we have to do that writing, or we have to do that talking to God. I like to speak aloud to my higher power. I just will talk. I'll have a conversation. I'll be like, well, here's what's happening right now, and I'm not happy about it. And well,
Yeah.
and here's what's great. And just really like I have a friend right here with me. I'll just talk myself through this stuff. Well, Christine, let's get to the modern day goddess characteristics. How about that? So we can, I
Absolutely.
know that what we've been talking about already, we've already been talking about it, but let's bring it back to like, how is it that every business owner, including men, right, who are open and receptive to this, can lead and live like a modern day goddess? And what
Well,
parts of our conversation can we take to that really apply here?
yeah, there's definitely a few key things that I want to share, but first I want to talk about the word goddess. Because when I was doing some market research with focus groups, 'cause I'm working on a book around this topic, I had, I don't know, 30, 40 women in focus groups. And when I talked about this word goddess, there were two camps.
Mm,
There was one camp that was like, oh, yes, like they knew that just connecting with the word goddess was it connecting with like that divine feminine part of who they are, and they knew that that was in them. The other half were like, what even is that? Like, ew, cringy faces, like, well, you might be that, but I'm not that, right? They couldn't self-identify. And it was almost like, it was really like one camp or the other, like, yes, goddess. And heck no, I don't even know what this is. I'm certainly not one, blah, 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 blah. So when I reference the word goddess, I just want to be clear, like, I am not talking about the white, flowy, layered gauze gowned barefoot woman with flowers in her hair and fairy hair, like running through the daffodil field, although that's one expression. And I'm also not, like, on the other side, there's a lot of like goddess stuff that I'm seeing that's like about, the car you drive and the fancy clothes you have and how much money you make, and I'm this like wealthy goddess. And it's like, okay, that is an archetype as well, and that is a type too. But the everyday goddess, like the today goddess, even sometimes I refer to as like the subtle goddess, is the one that isn't like just feet off the ground, flying around in, fairy fields all the time, and isn't all about like, I'm this, goddess that's gonna, show the world through my possessions or what, like, no. What I'm really looking at is just the woman or man who understands themselves, who understands who they are as a human, as a divine, as an expression here. And they are on that path of living that fullest expression, right? They know that there's this great, incredible amount of juiciness and light and love and, just wonder inside of them. And to me, the modern day goddess is one who is like on that path of pursuit, not necessarily for the external, but for the internal, which then leads to more beauty and synchronicities and, magic on the external. So I just wanted to kind of lay that groundwork first.
So it really is about what we were discussing earlier about really having your locus of value be within you, really
Yes.
deeply rooted in your soul, your essence, your being, whatever word you prefer, having it rooted there and cultivating that self-knowledge so that then you choose appropriately what you want to enjoy and what you don't want to enjoy in your life, and you're receptive to what is meant for you. I've heard that saying, what is meant for you will always find you.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that, but it can't find us if we're not looking, right? It can't find us if we have our eyes turned outside on what we see as a quick fix. Let me get this quick fix over here. I'll try this diet, or let me get this quick fix over here. Overnight happiness by reading that book, whatever. When we're focused that way, we don't have a richness within ourselves, and being a goddess is messy. So many of the goddesses are in history are, they're warrior goddesses. They'll lop your head off,
Mm-hmm.
Don't mess with them,
Well, they're true. Right? There's honesty. There's actually 3 words I wanted to share that to me sort of embody what it means to live and lead like a modern day goddess. And the first of those 3 words is the word grace. Right? And when you really kind of allow yourself to connect with that word grace, it's easier to connect and know who you are as a divine being. Right? To trust in that divine plan, to follow things like your intuition, and to give yourself some gentleness and some spaciousness in the process, right? Because life has ups and downs. And when you can live through like this lens of grace, you know, as much of a, as storm as it might be, you know that it's happening.
Christine.
Is this an explicit? Is it rated explicit? So Yeah. So as much as a shitstorm as it might be, if you can connect with it, this too is for your highest good, your highest
Mhm.
expression, and just flow with it and move with it and dance with what's showing up in your life. I mean, this, especially in today's world with the amount of stuff we have coming at us, like that is critical. So write down that word or register it in your heart, the word grace.
I love that. And it's such a great, it has so many meanings. I love that
Yeah.
it's the grace of just being able to flow and move with ease, and
Yes.
be flexible. But it's also the grace of kindness to others, giving others grace, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. No worries. We all get, like I was running late, today. We all have our issues. So let's just extend grace to others and especially to ourselves because we're not very good at that.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not very good at that, especially women. We're not good at that. We
Yes.
are so mean to ourselves. Just really, it's so often those voices that are going on, which come from people who were teachers or mentors or parents or caregivers, whatever. Those voices that we internalize are not for our highest good.
Yeah.
And so to have a new voice, the voice of the goddess that says, you are a goddess, Barnsley. Go put your feet up and enjoy your Ottoman time. That's what I call it, Christine. Enjoy your Ottoman time. And you can read or you can watch that fun program you've been watching, or you can call a friend. Just, that kind of kindness to ourselves.
Yeah.
We really need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to get onto the second word if I can, and then the
Yes.
third if we have time.
Yes.
Because the second word is another word that sometimes people are like, I love that. And other people are like, yeah, no. And the second word is power. And when people think of power over, like I'm more powerful or what have you, like
Yeah.
totally not what I'm talking about here. The kind of power that I'm talking about to really live and lead like a modern day goddess is to know your own inner power.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that really look like? In the moment that you're triggered about something,
Mm-hmm.
being in your own inner power could be taking a pause and making a different choice, right? It could be having the power to actually resolve and let go of the past so you don't carry it along as you move into your future. It could be the power within you that helps you take that sort of, calculated and aligned risk so that you can initiate, what it is that you want in your life, or that inner power to have the courage to do the deeper work that heals you of those parts, those stories, that old patterns, contracts, vows, behaviors that have held you back. That takes a power to do that kind of work, to be able to live and lead like a modern day goddess. But again, not power outside. It's knowing that you have the power inside of you to make that different choice, to take that pause, to choose to respond instead of to react.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to, be all of that you are in this world, you've got to access that power inside of you to choose differently.
I love that. Yes, and not power over. It's not power over. It's like power power
Absolutely.
within. And it can be an extremely quiet power, but
Mm-hmm.
it's there. We don't even have to say anything,
Yeah.
but people
No one
can
even
feel
has to know the
it.
decision that you've made that's different,
Mm.
but you
But
know
they
you've
feel
made
it.
it.
But they
They
feel
feel
it.
it. They
Have you
feel
ever
it.
noticed, like when I do some cord cutting for people, right? Which is something, I'm very much traditional business coach and I incorporate a lot of other stuff, but we do some cord cutting. And I'll always say, by the time you get out to your car or by this evening, if it's by Zoom, then you're going to have that person reach out to you more than likely. It's going to happen because they can feel that you've shifted,
Mm-hmm.
that energetically you are no
Yeah.
longer letting them pull on your energy, and they'll feel it and they'll reach out to you. And I can tell you, Christine, so many times people are like, oh my God, I had walked out the door and then I had a text and I haven't heard from them in 8 years. So people will
Yeah.
feel it. They won't be able to maybe
Yeah.
put their finger on it, but they'll know something's different. Well, let's go to we've just got a few more minutes, but let's go to that third word.
Well,
Let's get there and then
let's
we need
do
to go
it.
to the giveaway.
Another amazing
Woohoo!
word that I don't think I don't know. It doesn't, it's not as split as the other words. And that third word is resilience,
Mhm.
right? The modern day goddess has resilience. She has to, because every day on a micro level, on a macro level, there is life coming at her,
Mhm.
right? Especially if she or he or they own a business and they're in service to other, like all of that. It's like stuff happens, life
Yes.
happens. But the modern day goddess has that ability to rise again and again and again and keep going, and maybe have moments where she's just feeling completely defeated and like, I can't do this anymore. I certainly had that moment last year when my husband asked me what body wanted. I'm like, I'm done. And I just checked out for months. To take care of myself, right? But I knew that doing that was helping me rise again, better, stronger, wiser, like pain-free, amen.
Rested.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Rested.
if we let our mistakes stop us and we don't tap into that energy of resilience,
Mm.
then we're not going to live up to our full potential. We're not going to fulfill our divine calling. Our, marching orders when we landed on this planet and this body was here for a purpose. And it takes resilience to do that. I
Mm.
mean, you might need to tap into resilience just, seeing a post flash by on Facebook, or
Yeah.
accident. Like, I hate when the hotels put the
Yeah.
newspaper right at your door.
So you
I'm
have
like,
to see it.
I
Yeah.
can't unsee that headline.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So resilience is required in the big ways, in the small ways, and pretty much in some way, shape, or form every day, especially I think in these times that we are living in.
Absolutely. In the
Resilience is
times
our
we're
third
living,
word.
and also, as you point out, being an entrepreneur, because it is not, I always say it's not for the faint of heart. It is really, being an entrepreneur means you're a weeble, you wobble, but you don't fall down. You got to be able to jump right back up, because
Mhm.
you're going to get rejected. You're going to experience that. You're going to get no's. You're going to have moments that you don't have what you want happen.
Yeah,
And then you're going to have those moments that it does, right? But one must really have that resilience and
yeah.
initiative to keep going. Well, it is about the end of our time. So, very quickly, everybody, let me give you all listening. This is my favorite part. I'm going to give you the freebie vault address. And this is where you're going to find a gift from all our VIP Bowl Badass sponsors. And also, Christine's going to give a gift. And that address, everybody, is https:// right? Normal thing you put bit.ly/free from Dr. B. DRB. So again, bit.ly/free from Dr. B, DRB. And that's where you'll be able to go, and you'll be able to get thousands and thousands of dollars of incredible gifts, courses, ebooks, templates, discovery calls, all sorts of things are in the freebie vault. So help yourself to those. And Christine, very quickly, what are you going to give away? And the crowd goes wild. Woo!
Well, I'd like to actually give away two things. Because as you can see by my name on, if you're watching this, you can see publisher and goddess gatherer. So I want to give away two gifts. One of them is an incredible PDF I've created called How to Choose the Best Publishing Path for Your Book. So many people have important stories to share, right? And they write them, a lot of them. And then like, I don't know how to publish. And I go through the 4 different publishing paths, the pros and cons of each, the pitfalls to look out for, and how to know which of those publishing paths is correct for you. And I specialize in working with, we publish transformational women authors. Like, they're here up to something. And if you want to publish a book, I would definitely suggest you go and get that guide on how to choose the best publishing path for your book. And then
Awesome.
and then the other gift I'm giving away, it's actually like, it's not really a lead magnet gift, but what it is it's an invitation to get on my VIP list to be invited to my retreats, events, circles, intentional networking
Beautiful.
gatherings, and just a special, private invitation only list to experience some of what I do when I am gathering goddesses, because it's
I love
pretty
that.
pretty amazing. Probably wouldn't be doing it almost 30 years later if it wasn't. So
No, right?
special invitation.
We have stood the test of time with what we've done, you know? And this is great for those of you listening who are at the beginning of your business journey, right? You know, learn from our wisdom, and learn from the things that we've done successfully and the things that we haven't done quite as successfully. It's always about learning from the people who are where you want to be. So with that, you all, I just want to thank you, Christine. What a wonderful, wonderful reminder for us that, you know, with grace, with power, and with resilience, we can really overcome and endure anything and rise again. And I love your story of the transformation of your pain as well. I think it's going to be so inspiring to those listening. And those of you listening, remember, even if you're not feeling like a bold badass at this moment, it'll come back. So take your time with yourself. Give yourself that grace. Give yourself that power. Give yourself that resilience and kindness, and you will be a badass and feeling like one again soon, especially when you tune in every Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific to the Bold Badass Business Show. Have so much enjoyed this time with everybody. Thank you again, Christine, and make it a badass week, everyone.